Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
What's up, peeps?
We've got a Casually Explained video here. I've been watching his videos for quite some time, big fan. And this one is called Casually Explained Working from Home. So
something that you would know about.
Yeah, this is very fitting for myself and well, ACHARA's working at my home, and everyone's in lockdown, you know. So let's see. Here we go.
You guys, you'll never guess who this video is sponsored by. So the other day I was chatting with my friend, and he was like, "Yo, dude, you live downtown. Is it still really dead, or are there some businesses open now?" And I was like, "I don't know." I said, "What do you mean you don't know? You can just look out the window." And I was like, "No, I'd get glare on my monitor." And he just kind of stared at me thinking, "Hey, that's pretty smart." It was at that point I knew I had to make this video and share my accumulated knowledge on the subject. Now, when you first start working from home, it's very important you set up an organized workspace so you can actually be productive, which means you have to eliminate any potential distractions. So only refresh the worldometer coronavirus stats once every 15 minutes, limit yourself to just one sourdough recipe a day, and absolutely no YouTube videos. Not to brag, but I've managed to make it 3 months without relapsing. The next thing you have to do is set yourself a strict morning schedule because there's not going to be anyone else there to keep you accountable, which is why I advocate for the following routine. Wake up at 9 a.m., you're at work. So just remember that your motivation is going to wane at some point, and this can hit some people especially hard. You might notice that your male coworkers have all stopped shaving and have resorted to cutting their own hair. So make sure you show them support by subscribing to their cooking channel. Similarly, you might notice your female coworkers have all adopted a perma bun and switched from full face makeup to 360p video. You might also notice because you look at yourself. A big change you have to get used to is that there isn't going to be anything to talk about because office drama isn't going to be what it used to be. In fact, the most interesting moments are going to be when someone's cute dog walks by in the background, or when Jessica from accounting gets a new webcam and you're like, "Wow, nice quality. Is that 4K? And she's like, "Yeah, I've been doing a lot of streaming on the side." And you're like, "Oh, nice. What's your Twitch?" And she's like, "What's Twitch?" Now, being cooped up at home and with so little going on, it can be easy to lose purpose and fall into a downward spiral. This is why it's important to balance the tedium of working from home with a fulfilling hobby. I remember getting frustrated reading the news the other day and thinking, these lockdown protesters are idiots. They could save tens of thousands of lives if they just stayed inside. But instead of getting angry, I decided to go jogging for the first time. Now, even if you've enjoyed your time working from home, all good things must come to an end. I'm of course talking about your marriage, because never have people been realizing more that the only thing holding their relationship together was their time spent apart. But not to worry, because as we're opening up, so too will we be opening up. As single people emerge from their abodes starved for affection, the homies can finally meet their Animal Crossing GF in real life, Aww. Sam gives you my switchback, and dating will flourish with everyone getting drunk off one sip. Just keep in mind that with lonely people lowering their standards worldwide, be sure to wear protection, because this increases the odds further. Meanwhile, employers have to make the hard decision of either bringing everyone back to the office because they weren't doing any work at home, or letting everyone work from home because they realized no one was doing any work at the office either. If you do get to see your coworkers in person again, you'll quickly figure out if they spent their stimulus on an ab roller, on a bread maker, or on options contracts for the S&P 500. Nevertheless, we can all hope things go back to normal sooner rather than later. And the good news is that we're finally starting to outsmart the virus. As you can see by the data, you can't have a second wave if the first one never ends. Thankfully, with the way this year's been shaping up, there's a good chance we'll get distracted by something else in the meantime. As an example, where was this picture taken? Australia? Wuhan? Italy? New York? And to prove my point, I had to go and rewrite this part of the video because now it's just Minnesota. So long story short, if there's anything 2020 has taught us, it's that the best way to get over a small problem is to have a bigger problem. So I'm not going to sweat it. By the way, in case you're wondering, this is just Armageddon from the Book of Revelations. So this is where I smoothly transition to today's sponsor, ExpressVPN, which is actually extremely relevant in these trying times, as it allows you to both encrypt your data or reroute your IP address in just one click. Let's say you're chatting with your pals on Zoom like a responsible stay-at-home citizen. If you aren't paying to use it, you don't get end-to-end encryption, and third parties can potentially access your information. With ExpressVPN, your information is fully encrypted, and you can be sure that when you're Zooming with your pals, you're also not Zooming with Chinese Central Intelligence and Mark Zuckerberg. In addition, now that I've exhausted every show on Netflix and Disney Plus, I've changed my location to the UK so I can watch South Park and this show called Rick and Morty that people keep recommending to me. Not sure how I'm supposed to take that. Nevertheless, if you'd like to tide yourself over exactly until my next video, you can find out how you can get 3 months for free by going to expressvpn.com youtube.com/casually explained, or by clicking the link in the description below.
He hit on a lot of interesting points in the span of like 3.5, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
That is the truth about working from home that I feel like a lot of people have learned is you wake up and you're in your office. And that's one of the most difficult things to overcome is that sort of mental separation. Even working out from home, I have found profoundly difficult. That it's a challenge that I have yet to fully overcome, where I can dedicate an hour to just focusing on exercise like I can at the, like if I go to the gym, I can work out for 2 hours and it's cool. I'm focused. I am so tunnel vision on the routines. But when I'm at home, it's just not the same, man. Like I get about 15 minutes into my set and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good. I'm good. That was, I exercised, you know, there's a lot of.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, I burned some calories. I probably was like 2,000 calories I just burned, even though it was like maybe 50.
Time for a snack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just so easy to stop. What is for some reason also easy is to just fall back into work mode. And I'm not sure what that's about.
Wake up at 9 a.m. You're at work.
He showed it perfectly. He woke up and he's on his laptop in bed. I woke up and I'm looking at my YouTube information and I'm pinning links and I'm like responding to people. Like the moment I wake up, this has been the habit before lockdown. Like a lot of people are learning what the YouTubers go through.
No, totally. It's because there's so little separation between where you live and where you work. And so I feel like it's important to make that separation. And if you are able to have a good morning routine, that's great. I don't. That's something that I want to work towards, is to be like, no. I take an hour or something to myself to just kind of get myself in the right headspace before I start work. And then I want to end work at a specific time. Like, that's the nice thing about going to work is the moment you walk into the building, you're like, I'm working. Well, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a lot of time not working when I was at work, but.
This is tapping into a very large conversation, sort of inadvertently, but there's a book I've mentioned on podcasts and YouTube channels before called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then there's a sequel book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And it shows you the 4 different kinds of people that there are in the world. There's the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and the investor. And most people are the E, the employed. There's this assumption that most people are just built that way. But I think it's also how school makes us.
Yes.
You know, the school system is designed to create employees. And so when you are thrust into this situation where you are your own employer, you're your own boss, it's profoundly difficult because of how you've been trained for 18 plus years. You've been trained to be an employee because of school. And so when you're forced to be your own boss, it's profoundly more complicated than you anticipate. There's a lot of people who are like, I'd rather have someone tell me what to do. That's why when it comes to working out at the gym, it's so much easier when you have someone berating you to get less fat than doing it yourself. Although I was a stubborn child, and so being my own boss came a little bit more naturally to me, but I have met a lot of people who find it so much more difficult to be their own boss and self-discipline. You know, it's a big challenge.
Yeah.
The other thing he was touching upon is, do we even need to go back to the office? Like, that part of the reason to have the office environment is to create that separation. And I think it's actually healthy because I think our brain works that way. There's this phenomenon where you are in one room and you are like, oh, I need a fork from the kitchen. And you go into the kitchen and then you forgot what you needed by the time you get there because you went into another room. It's this weird phenomenon that I was told about from an old friend where your brain uses those rooms to separate ideas. Yeah. And so you go back to the room you came from and you're like, oh yeah, I needed a fork. And then you go back to the kitchen again and you keep saying fork, fork, fork as you walk to the kitchen, right? So you don't forget.
Yeah.
And so I think that having a separate office space is important. So I try to do that here. And I have no electronics in my room. But again, like, do we even need to go back to work? There's a lot of people, especially women, who would rather just work from home, I think, this is an assumption I'm making, so that they can also caretake at the same time and not have to worry about finding a babysitter. Because often women are the ones who are like stuck with the responsibility. And so it's like, okay, now we don't have to pay for that. Like I can see my kid in the corner there while I'm doing my work.
I don't know if that really lends itself well to productivity, but I have heard from some friends who are parents that actually they're able to compartmentalize better because they just either wake up earlier and get the bulk of their work done earlier before the kids wake up, or just do it later. So there's that flexibility, which is great.
Right. Well, I think that when you have extra responsibilities on your plate, like you're saying, you are able to compartmentalize better because you are dedicating time to this thing. Yeah. And you're forced to work within a window that is limited. And when you have that, I think you find that productivity actually skyrockets because it's a focused window of time, as opposed to having 8 hours to fulfill your 40-hour quota for the week. there's this lackadaisical sort of attitude because you don't want to be there for 40 hours. But if you're constraining it to a 4-hour window, let's say.
Yeah, and you're like laser focused.
Yeah, then you're more likely to get it done.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to both. And I think that what this opens up the opportunity for is people to make a choice. Hopefully businesses allow you to make a choice because then there's also less overhead to deal with in the office space.
Yeah.
If you're able to work from home, where you have people some who prefer the office and some who prefer, the home life, and let them make the choice. Let them decide what they want to do. And they have to come in every now and then for meetings.
Yeah, my sister's company, to be fair, she works for an app. But since lockdown, they've given up their office. Now everyone works from home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's a strength to it, but without any oversight on what you're doing, like he's saying, you can end up kind of doing the unhealthy thing and looking at the coronavirus statistics all day long, kind of refreshing it. I refresh it once a day, pretty good. YouTube also is a distraction for me, admittedly. Like I'll go on YouTube whenever I'm getting bored with video editing or whatever, I'm just going like, what's going on with everybody else? And
Instagram's my vice.
The worst thing is, though, that when I deleted the apps from my phone temporarily just to make it harder, more difficult. I want it to be inconvenient to access Twitter and Instagram right now because I was on it so much, especially because of the current events going on. I was constantly refreshing my feed. Anyway, whenever I'm in the middle of work and I go to YouTube for a temporary distraction, I find that I often have to spend 20 minutes just to find an interesting video to distract myself. And it's like, by the time I find a video, I'm like, oh, fuck it. And then I just go back to work because it's almost like Netflix. Lately, for whatever reason, I guess it's because everyone's in lockdown, they're not able to make videos like they used to. It's harder to find the same interesting kind of content that you used to find before lockdown.
Right.
There are some creators who are still doing a pretty good job. Like I watch Linus Tech Tips a lot. He's able to keep making videos. I watch Philip DeFranco a lot. He's still making videos. Jay's 2 Cents, he's making videos. There's a lot of people who are like finding ways to do it still. And so I'm happy about that. But it's just not the same abundance as it usually is, which is ironic considering everybody's a YouTuber now. If you go on Amazon and try to find, equipment to become a YouTuber, a Twitcher, or a
Is that what they're called? Twitchers?
No, streamers is what they're called. I just made that word up. There's also the other one that Ninja went to. I forgot the name of that company.
Oh, Mixer?
Mixer, yeah, or a mixer. That sounds weird.
A blender.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
But anyway, everyone has decided to take on that profession, and I'm actually in a way happy about that. I was once told everyone should spend at least a month being a server because it teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches you a lot about respecting that particular industry.
Yeah.
Like when you go out, because like one of the things that we did the most is go out to restaurants, and there's little respect oftentimes for those people. And so when you do it for a month, you gain a certain amount of respect and a better just understanding of what that's like.
It's more empathy.
Yeah, there's more
I
empathy.
think. Yeah.
And so I think that with so many people enlisting themselves to become influencers, I'm like, you know what, good. Because now all of you are gonna see exactly what's involved, and it's not as easy as you think it is. There's so much more to it than meets the eye. And so it makes me very happy that a lot of people have decided to embark upon trying that out, because what you're gonna have in the coming month or two is a lot of tapering off of I don't know if people are gonna return the stuff that they bought or if they're gonna just keep it and let it collect dust, but you're gonna see a lot of people try it out and realize, oh, I see. That's why I haven't done this. I'm sure you're gonna hear a story in about a year or two of people who are like, thank God for that lockdown, because if not for that, I wouldn't be a YouTuber right now.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear those stories as well, I'm sure.
For sure. I love that joke he had with his co-worker and her 4K resolution webcam, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh yeah, I've been streaming, and he's like, oh yeah, we're on Twitch, and she's like, what? That was hilarious.
What was she? Was she like a webcam model? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I mean, that was the joke I took from it, but I was wondering if there was something deeper. Because the obvious thing, I'm like, well, it couldn't be that because that was obvious to me. Must be something else.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that was it. That was really funny. And then also the thing, because I've heard about this as well, where people are all like, I'll go on my Zoom call. I just won't put on the video because I'm literally in my pajamas with bedhead, and girls aren't wearing makeup because why?
Yeah.
You don't have to see my face. It's in 360p. We're good.
I don't know. Even if I'm by myself, I put my makeup on. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Be sure to check out ACHARA KIRK as well as the Jabs if you feel like doing that. Social media, Twitter, Instagram. Even though those apps are not on my phone, I still manage to look at them from the browser if I really, really need to look at it. And check out our other videos, our reactions, interviews, short films, vlogs, all that great stuff. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.